We did a good job in Marin, I think, with the vaccines and the masks, but it's like pushing against the ocean. So, we have to find the next thing to move forward on, but good job on that. We didn't do such a good job with traffic so far in Tiburon. If you're from there and you're getting here today, or if you're, any points of interest, there are 3 schools that line the road, one road in and out, and we can't get our acts together solving this problem. We only have to use an algorithm. It's been proven in other cities, and we tier our driving habits by just a few minutes, and we could solve the problem, but we won't, and therefore we suffer and we sit in traffic for weeks of our lives per year. And if we can't get together on that, I submit, how are we going to get together? How are we going to put one foot forward, advance the ball down the field for the problems that are really serious, right? NASA released a study just a few years ago indicating that 10 million Empire State Buildings worth of ice broke off from Greenland into the ocean in the 20th century. And that this process is about 1/3 responsible for all processes causing planet Earth to literally wobble on its axis in its orbit. So we human beings are literally shaking the Earth, right? And sometimes it feels that way. We're stuck in traffic and the noise and the craziness. And sometimes it feels that we can't make any real difference at all, and we're not shaking anything. So what can we do? One thing I'm involved in is NFTs. And before you get excited or before you roll your eyes, I'm going to talk about formulas. I'm going to talk about that I've been in this for 25 years. The team and I do this over and over again. We find the opportunities in these ventures. And I remember, if you do, the articles during the dot-com days, how are we going to make money, on the internet? I think the NFT business is one of the greatest revolutions that I've ever seen. I think I started thinking that it was going to be the derivative of crypto, but I think it's the other way around, and I think your panel may discuss this a little bit later. I think that crypto may be the derivative of NFTs. I think these communities that are being built, the Bored Apes and the rest of it, you have Justin Bieber buying one for $500,000, you have Madonna buying the next one for $500,000. I mean, this is becoming one of the most exclusive clubs in the world. NFTs are access control. It allows you to be a member of a super thing. And if social is what maybe Musk is implying with all the bots and the ridiculousness and the fraud, then NFTs could be the new social. So we actually launched an NFT for Sam's just a few days ago. This is something that we can do in the community. This is a restaurant, and we've already generated hundreds of thousands of dollars for them. NFTs have utility. You don't have to wait in line at Sam's if you have one of these. You don't have to deal with the wine that you don't like. You'll be off menu. There'll be tables on the roof for you. Even my daughter and I sail in to have lunch there. You might even have a reserved boat slip. My wife is a land lover, and my bulldog doesn't show up at any of these events. But all these privileges for this place that's just mobbed. You'll see it tonight, or you'll see it on the weekends. And so for a restaurant to be able to raise hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're projecting millions of dollars for this thing, is no joke. We launched an NFT for Michelle Phillips. You remember from the Mamas and the Papas? All the leaves are brown and the sky. So she came up here, flew up here after the work that we'd done for her. We sold 10 FTs, 10,000 each, for 100,000 of a print that she did. She drew a doodle of her band, and it's really cool. And we got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame to accept this doodle, so it hangs there. And so now these prints are getting more and more valuable. And so she flew up, and we sang together at a local watering hole in Tiburon. And it's fantastic. It's a fantastic sense of community that's sprouting from this particular industry. And so I think it is formulaic. We were in internet security for banks. We were in online construction. We invented or co-ushered in contextual authentication and invented the electronic construction permit. We've been here sort of time and time again for these various revolutions. And now, in a room like this, there's one that, make no mistake, is happening. And that's kind of how we define ourselves as a team. We do this over and over again. We try to find a path of least resistance. We want to see our technology go around and around the world, so we try to build our companies efficiently. Profitability is important, but we try to build with the end in mind, the exit in mind. We refer to ourselves over and over again as a sort of less good-looking, legal, married with children version of the Ocean's 11 team. That's kind of our moniker. I mean, it's legal, but we just, the team and I do this over and over again. And it's fantastic. I love the smart glasses that haven't taken off yet, but I love them for the reason that they will enable eventually contextual cueing, which is a psychology term, but also technology. You put these things on, and then you'll receive the benefit of all the experiences that come before you or that's happening, whether you're in a stadium or whether you're walking around. And I put on my proverbial glasses, and I get all the experiences of my investors who have been with me for most of them for these 25 years. And they illuminate to me what's important, just because they're older and wiser, and they've been there. When we started, I was 22, I'm now 50, and they, in many cases, are now 75 or thereabouts. And we talk about what's most important. And it's got to be family, no matter what you're trying to create, no matter what you're trying to do, the time that you have with your children and your significant others. We try to build in a way that we're doing something responsible for our time. We want our investors to make their 4 to 6x. Usually they do. We want our employees, the first 10, the first 15, to make their 7 figures. Usually they do. But not at the expense of someone's hockey game, not at the expense of the school play. We try to put the family first, and we try to operationalize that, bake that into what we're doing, and then we try to run our operations around that. And when I look at the traffic problem, Marcus Aurelius wrote that what stands in the way becomes the way. The traffic, this problem, and you can tell it really got to me. I studied it, and then we also figured out a way in our family to put our foot forward and address the problem. And my daughter and I, for many years, were commuting to St. Hilary from Mar East, so it's about a few miles, and we would drive these increasingly esoteric devices to get to school, to weave in and out of the traffic. One was a tandem bicycle with seats not behind each other like a Pedigo that you may drive, but we could sit right next to each other. It's called an Orion, based in Denmark, and people would ooh and ah, and we would be able to go in between the lanes and get there efficiently. And now we've upgraded to an Arcimoto. Have you guys heard or read about this company? The car looks like the head from Alien, and you can drive this thing 60 miles an hour, 80 miles on a charge. The CEO talk about the opposite of what I do. He's been in this for 17 years, no family, just all he is doing is building this car, and it's a great product, but he only sold 24 of them last quarter. He's publicly traded, so the market has brought him, all the way down. And maybe shame on him for not raising more money when he could, when at least the prospect was he was going to do more than that. But he's really battling and giving it everything he could, and he's produced this car. And so all of a sudden, the traffic, this massive obstacle in my family, becomes the way that I'm able to spend all this quality time with my only child, who's here. She's 12, and I take her on the road. She spoke at the Commonwealth Club last month at age 12 to talk about her accomplishments during the lockdown. And I meant what I said. We're running late, so I came here to say what I say. I'll just conclude with that for 2 years during the lockdown, all we did as a family was scuba dive. And she was able to accomplish something at her age that no one else has before. And so they brought her over to the club, and she told people about it. And let that be the way, that whatever obstacle that you're seeing, whatever you're thinking of doing individually, collectively. There was a great commencement speech the other day from a world-class soccer player, and she said, let's just only focus on our family. Let's only focus on the office, and don't let the world's biggest problems influence you too much. I'd like to amend that just a little bit and say, with a group of people together like this, and with this Marin Keiritsu that's being created here, a focus on our companies, the synergy involving this particular environment and this climate, that we can do something together to move the ball forward. Something. Maybe it'll start later today. Maybe it'll start tonight. I like NFTs. Maybe you'll offer something else that you like. But let's get together and let's try again to do something collectively. Let's try to demonstrate to each other that we have the capacity to do just basic something collectively. And we'll see where we go from there. Thank you very much. If there are any questions.